4, 3, 2.
Hi, I'm Chip Bell, and I'm excited to be with you. I'm on the way to the beach, but I tell you, the best advice I ever got was listen to your front line. They are brilliant. They also know what matters to your customers.
Awesome. Chip, I'm so excited to get back with me, buddy. How are you? So good to see you.
If I was any better, I'd have to open up a branch.
There we go.
Or
There we go.
Yeah, as we say where we live, I'm terrific, but I'm getting better.
There you go. That's perfect, man. That's perfect. So, well, you hit another home run with your new book. I'm really excited to get to share this with people about being inside your customer's imagination. So, congratulations.
You are very kind. I appreciate that, Phil. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, fun book. Sadly, I don't have a physical copy here to share with folks, but I want to share.
I can help you out. Look at here. Look at that.
Yeah. So hold on just a little bit. Show them the book. Show them the logo, because I want to talk about that coffee cup.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Check that out, folks. So if you're not watching, if you're just listening, take a look at this. There's a coffee cup with a cookie on the bottom. So Chip, you got to tell us the story behind that, because I think that's really instructive.
Well, I'm going to tell you the two stories, but one story is Dominic Skinner was sitting in a pub in Surrey, UK, and he overheard two customers in the booth next to him say, "Wouldn't it be great if we had a teacup that could keep our cookie warm?" And so he was a designer, and he had his sketch pad. He sketched out an idea and created this dunk mug. You can Google dunk mug, and you'll see lots of pictures of them, but it's basically a mug with a slot cut out at the bottom that you slide a coffee in. And he sold it to Mocha UK, and the rest is history. But at any rate, I thought it'd be kind of a great metaphor. And as you know, 2 books back, I wrote a book called Sprinkles. So I thought, why not make sure the cookie that goes in that slot in that dunk mug had sprinkles on it? So that's the whole concept, trying to do a little branding there.
There you go. Well, I got the sprinkles, right? And when I got the book, I got the sprinkles part, but I didn't get the dump mug until I read the book. So I thought that was really, really cool. I love that. I love how that got co-created, which I think is really the kind of the biggest word from the book that I got, because we talk about customer service, customer experience, we're getting closer. But now customer co-creation. So Chip, what the heck is co-creation, and why is that really the next level?
Here is what most organizations do. They say we need to create products and services for our customers, on behalf of our customers. Well, and that's good. They sometimes hit it well, but what happens if you don't know what the customer wants, or if the customer doesn't know what the customer wants? And what if you, by dipping into what the customer's imagination might be, you created something that they love because they helped create it? I love that old adage that says people will care when they share. And so this is a whole different approach to say, let's get the customer directly involved in creating new products, new services, and not just, a search for what they might want. And so that's what it's all about is, companies turn to their R&D for departments for new products and services. Why not turn to your customer as another resource you have? Nothing wrong with your R&D department, but, sometimes they don't know what customers want either. So that's what the book's all about. And I like to say imagination is something on the inside, and it's a door opened only from the inside. So how do we create a relationship with the customer? And we can talk about that. So they'll want to open that door and want to share with you their weird, crazy, off-the-wall, half-baked ideas that could turn into something that would be of value to them.
Yeah, I think that's super important that we think about that. I love your point about caring when they share. And I love the fact that we're actually going to talk about how of this, because while I love stories, I love to have at least a little bit of an inkling of how the heck do I do this? Because so many times it feels like magic. But in this book, right, you are really clear, you're really descriptive. And one of the things that I love that you talk about is something that we all need to do more of in relationship and with our customers, with with our significant others, and that is eccentric listening. I've never, ever heard that term before, Chip. So talk to us about eccentric listening and how we can do that.
I just made it up, actually. I never heard of it either. But the whole concept is going beyond what we normally think of as great listening. In one of the sections, I talk about be the customer, right? And there's double meaning there. Be the customer. When you got little league kids and they're playing baseball, you tell them, be the ball, be the ball. When they're at bat, be the ball. And that's all an effort to try to get them to focus on that ball so they, can hit it. And if you be the customer, so to speak, it means you really work hard to get in their shoes and see the world like they see the world. And I'll give you a quick example. My wife's hairdresser is Johnny Adair, and Johnny has been known to get a permanent. And I said, Johnny, why do you do that? He said, well, I realize that when a woman gets a permanent, it's one of the most awkward, uncomfortable, kind of embarrassing things they go through. And I thought, if I get a permanent, I'll really see their world. And because of that, I can make some changes in the experience to make it a much better one. And so that's an example of sort of being the customer. I like to advise audiences when I do keynotes, call your own department or unit, disguise your voice, and ask for something out of the ordinary. It can give you kind of a much clearer picture of what your customer's world is like. So,
yeah, that makes so much sense. And I think, isn't that a lot of the behind the scenes of the Undercover Boss series, not just as a employee, right, but also as our customer, to hear what are they saying, what are they doing, what are they feeling a lot of times, because that's the miss.
That's a great point. I hadn't thought about the undercover boss, but yes, that's exactly right. I get to see the world. And it's also involving the customer. We all know as customer service folks that we're supposed to pay attention to their needs and expectations. But this book is about pay attention to their hopes and aspirations. It's going beyond. It's dreaming with your customer and saying, I'll give you a quick story and an example. I was working with a well-known pizza company years ago. And we did focus groups with lots of customers, and we asked them, what do you want from a pizza company? And we were pretty sure they were going to focus on the 3 Ps: product, price, process. Your pizzas don't taste good, or I wish they had something else on them, or the price is too high, or I have to wait, the process too long, or it's late, or whatever. But instead, when we ask them dreamer questions, like tell us your aspirations, questions like, what's something that no pizza company is doing that would be really good if we would set us apart? And what we kept hearing was, well, what about the pizza box? What are you going to do with the pizza box? Well, it never occurred to them that maybe we could do something. So what they did is they said, you could turn the pizza box into a puzzle. You could turn a pizza box into a Halloween mask. You could turn it into, any number of things to help. And so I actually worked also with the paper company that creates pizza boxes, and they could put a little film of plastic over that, whatever you've got on the back of the box, so the pizza doesn't damage it. But the point is, they're thinking like that. And that's what I'm saying. By getting the customer involved, you oftentimes can come up with concepts, ideas, and features you'd never occur to you because you're too close to it.
Yeah, for sure. So how do we combat, though, the kind of the Henry Ford saw of, if we ask the customer what they wanted, they just want a faster horse. I mean, how do we combat that? Because I totally agree. I think imagination is interesting. It helps us innovate. It helps us be better. But how do we do that and not spend all our money just chasing down rabbit holes?
Well, that's a good point. And I think, when Henry Ford said, if I just ask them, they'd want a faster horse. But I think what we need to learn to do is to say, well, what do you mean by a faster horse? Let's think about what's behind that. What's really going on in that question? When the customer tells us A, are they really telling us A, or are they telling us something else? We all know, and that's one of my fun things is, what's the most frequent question asked of a cast member by a guest at a Disney theme park? Now think about that. And I ask people all the time, what do you think the most frequent question is at Disney World? Well, you'd think it'd be something like, where's Mickey or where's Space Mountain? The most frequent question is, what time does the 3:00 parade start? Now, Disney folks know what they're really asking is not what time's the 3:00 parade start. What they're really asking is, how soon should I make my way to Main Street so I can get a real good seat on the curb so when the Mickey parade starts, I can see it. And so they've learned there is something behind that. So when they say faster horses, for example, what's behind that? Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something more. Maybe there's something I've missed. So I think it is beginning to think more deeply into what the customer's really saying to us when they make those kind of statements, and not just assuming, well, they want a faster horse. Of course they do, They hadn't thought of a car.
No, for sure. And I really love your question there. What do you mean by? That's an opening question that opens up the world for people. If you really ask that question and then you actually care about the answer, I think it's both. It's not just a checkbox, which is one of the key points in your book that I wrote down here. You said interpersonal encounters are between customers and human providers, and not by artificial intelligence, and not by robots, not by things. So talk to me about that, because certainly many organizations are going for faster, quicker, cheaper, better, and yet they miss the human piece.
And that's all well and good. And I don't have anything against AI or the technology, but we also saw Space Odyssey. 2001 Space Odyssey. And we remember how those guys got out of there because HAL took over, if you remember from that Stanley Kubrick picture. And it's because the computer and all of its derivations in artificial intelligence and whatever is armed with lots of information, but a little bit short on insight. And I think what humans provide, because they can communicate and have a deep understanding of more empathetic connection and can do eccentric listening, is the capacity to develop insight, that aha, that, I hadn't put it together quite like that, in a way that a computer is not able to do. So I think it needs to be by humans, because I think that's the primary source for ingenuity, innovation, creativity, and all those things that produce breakthrough products, services, and solutions.
Yeah. Well, I think human beings are willing to experiment and are willing to blow it up, even if it's not safe, and put things together that wouldn't normally put together. Just like, the coffee cup. I mean, think about it. So many people would say, oh, geez, there's a hole in my coffee cup. What the heck is that? But once you understand what you have there, so it does sometimes take a little bit of understanding. It's slow down to speed up in many cases, I think is really often what you're talking about there.
You got it.
Cool. So what you talk about also, that there's this secret code to getting inside your customer's head. Talk to me about that, Chip, and how important that is and how we get there.
Great. Well, as I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, I believe imagination is on the inside of your customer, and it's kind of a door open from the inside. So the question becomes, how do I get them to open the door? And I thought to their innovation. And obviously, I believe that happens through a partnership. So you begin to say, well, what are the effective ingredients of this kind of partnership, an innovation pursuit partnership? And one of the places I went is I thought, okay, where else does this go on? Where else does innovation happen? And I thought about all the great companies that we would associate with really great innovative products, services, and solutions. And you think of Pixar, and you think of Google and Amazon and some of those people. Okay, so what are the features of the cultures that produce innovation? Well, from that, I said, well, what characterizes those organizations could also characterize a partnership between individuals or between groups of individuals. So I built it around the 5 secrets. One, it's curiosity is for grounding, discovery, trust, and passion. Those are 5 building blocks of a culture of innovation, whether you're talking about an organization or relationship. But when applied to a relationship, they're a little bit different, obviously, than an organizational culture. So that's the origin. Those 5 secrets are all aimed at creating a sense of safety, a sense of being valued, and encouraging that customer to want to open that door and with you collaboratively create new products, services, and solutions.
That's awesome. That is so simple, right? Curiosity, grounding, trust, discovery, and passion. Really, really good, really simple stuff. But one of the things that was both funny as well as like very eye-opening to me is in chapter 7, Chip, you talk about creating an incubation alliance, and you talk about your grandmother and her chicken house. Now, funny enough, my grandmother had a chicken coop, 2 of them actually, big ones. And I don't think she ever fostered this, Chip. So you got to talk to me about how your grandmother was better than my grandmother here at creating an incubation alliance.
We all believe our grandparents were superhuman, and I did, and because you don't know any better, and they were all special to you. And so my grandmother, she lived they lived about a half a mile from where I lived, and so I'd go up there and visit them all the time. And she had this big chicken house, and chicken, little cube cubbies that each chicken had their own cubby and straw on the bottom of it, a light bulb over it. And she'd say, go out there and get me a dozen eggs. And so I'd be the one to go out there and get them, raise the chicken up and get the eggs out of the nest and bring them in. But when they were focused on making chickens, baby chickens, and not just eggs, now it's a whole different deal. You didn't go out there and upset that chicken. And the light was turned on, too, to keep those. And I noticed that several things. One is my grandmother's garden was right next to the chicken house. And she would sing all the time when she would work out there. She would sing. And I thought, I wonder if that singing has an impact on their incubation. Actually, I turned out that I had a real good friend of mine, Keith Kennedy in East Texas, who was one of the largest growers for Pilgrim's Pride in producing chickens. And he said, I went through all kinds of music, and I finally found certain classical music with certain cadence produces the most number of eggs and grows the biggest chickens or whatever. And so, again, there is some connection there. But she would provide a huge fence around it so the fox would stay out of the chicken house. My point is, she provided a very pleasant, inviting, safe, comfortable environment that nurtured growth. And the whole section around discovery is all about risk-taking, but I've reframed it to focus on growth, because if you say, well, let's go take some risk, it's kind of scary for your customer. But if you say, let's go learn something new, all of a sudden you've reframed it to say, oh boy, this is going to be neat. We're going to learn some new things in the process. Obviously, since growth itself is about risk-taking, you're fostering that kind of environment. And so the incubation concept is around, how do I nurture growth in a safe environment? So that's why how my grandmother got tied into it.
That's excellent. Excellent. Let's go learn something new is a great way to head into uncharted territories. And you mentioned in the book how you hired this Iron Chef to cook for you, and how instead of getting the recipe exactly right, that he actually taught you how to cook. That's really interesting to me, Chip, that an Iron Chef who who likely is one of the top chefs in the world is going to co-create with you an experience that you remember. So did he read your book before he started cooking for you?
No. He didn't know me from Adam. He was the invitee of a good friend of mine, a client of mine, actually, we were all at the Augusta National Golf Course Masters Tournament. I don't live that far from that location. And so he would rent a house for a week, and then and every night every day he'd invite some other friends to come. So it wasn't the same friends all the time. And then so he invited this world famous chef who runs. He's a chef who has a number of restaurants in Texas, and his fame is that he was on the Iron Chef program and beat the Iron Chef. And he got really lucky because Southwestern food was the one they made that night, and he's an expert on Southwestern food, so he just tore it up. It was no contest. But my point, he came in, and one of the things he did is he said, why don't you cook for us? And he said, no, why don't I cook with you? And let me get everybody who's coming to this dinner involved. So he called me, and he flew out from Dallas. His restaurants are in Fort Worth. And so Tim flew out and prepared this meal with us. But he would give us assignments. Like one of my assignments was I had to stop because I got nearby and I was driving and pick up portobello mushrooms and a number of things that he needed in his thing that he didn't want to fly with. And he brought all his utensils. And then when we got ready, we got all involved, and he would teach us some techniques around try this. And you don't want to do this. Be careful about this. So we all got involved in creating this incredible steak dinner. I'd never had a steak done quite that way. With a garlic cut in the middle of it. I mean, it was just to die for. But at any rate, and so that it was a phenomenal event for me because here you are, this world famous chef, teaching you how to do what he does. So it was great. It's great.
That's awesome. That sounds so fun. So let's talk about the last secret, because I think that came out of that story. And that's he had a passion for creating an experience unlike anybody, right? He got the need to co-create that with you and said, what can we do with you? But you'd say passion is your fifth secret here. It's the intersection where the best in a provider meets the best in a customer. And I think that's really what happened there. So how do we get people, Chip, in as we kind of wrap up here, how do we get people to open up more so that they're open to giving us their best?
I think your part starts with modeling it, being a role model of passion. I love the fact that passion is 3 words: pass, I, own. It's the passing of the best of who you are to someone else, on to someone else. Pass, I, own. Rollo May, the great philosopher, said there's an energy field between all humans, and we reach out in passion. It's met with an answering passion and changes that relationship forever. So it starts with each of us and how we create that kind of excitement, enthusiasm. And it means giving the most of who you are. You know, my good friend Seth Godin loves to, when he gives keynote speeches, sometimes he'll ask the audience, hold up your hand as high as you can. And the people will do that. And then he says, okay, hold them up a little higher. And everybody holds them up higher. And he goes, what's with this? Why did you hold back? And so my view is we've got to hold back. We don't want to hold back. We want to give the most that we can be. And part of it is recognizing that we want to cherish that partnership, nurture that partnership. And what I call nobilize it. Nobilize it is a kind of made up word that has, how do you create it like royalty? How do you create it with deep respect and dignity? You know, my wife and I have been married over 50 years. And somebody asked us one time, how in the world you and Chip been married for 50 years? And I was kind of holding my breath. I expected some answer like, well, you know, he's on the road all the time. I never see him. But she got serious. She said, we got married, but we never quit courting. We never quit dating. And I think the secret is how you never take that partnership for granted. You look for ways to continually give and contribute generosity and gratitude to your partnership.
Wow. I love that. How do we stay married for 50 years, or how do we have long-term customers? It's all the same here. Never stop courting. Never take it for granted. Chip, I never take time with you for granted, my friend. It is always a joy to talk to you. So it's always so fun. So Chip, I know people are going to go to chipbell.com, get a copy of the new book. It's awesome, Inside Your Customer's Imagination. But if people want to get started along the journey, what's 1 or 2 things, Chip, that they can use today to get them started getting more inside their customer's imagination?
I think it starts by talking to people who know your customer and that who know them well. And again, if you're a leader, I would say spend a lot more time with your front line because, as I said at our opening, they are brilliant. Their insight is terrific. Who else do your customers know that come in contact with, and what can they teach you? I have a good friend of mine who used to run a hotel, and he'd do focus groups with the taxi drivers that frequented that hotel to take people to the airport because he knew customers were going to be honest in the backseat of a taxi, and he gained a lot of insight that he'd never get from the front desk saying, "How was your stay?" And so, or a comment card. So I think it's all looking for ways to say, I want to not only help know my customer, understand them, but I want to demonstrate to them how much I care about what matters most to them, not just their needs and expectations, but also their hopes and aspirations, and include them, involve them, collaborate with them in creating remarkable, amazing, and breakthrough product, services, and solutions.
Wow, that's great. That's a great example on how to get started here. Demonstrate how much you care about what matters most to your customers. Get started getting inside your customer's journey. If you want to get more of this, definitely go to chipbell.com. He's got the book. He's got some awesome bonuses that you can get, some great resources here. A song book, if you can believe that. Some
Absolutely.
tips. Yeah, what the heck, man? So did you write all these songs, or how did you?
I wrote the words and the music. Music is a hobby of mine, and so if you log on, you can get a copy of that song book. There's actually one of the songs in the book. Not too many business books have a song in it, but it's in there. And then you can go on the book page of my website, and the accompaniment for all of those songs is there. So you'll have the sheet music, and you'll be able to sing right along.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, Chip, as always, it's just a joy to talk to you, my friend. Have a great day at the beach. Thank you for spending time with me today. I so appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, Bill. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you so much.
Back at you, brother. Thank you.